If you're thinking about picking up a vintage VW Beetle, I'm gonna share my experience in buying one and why you might want to be careful before pulling the trigger on that classic vintage VW bug. Last year, a little bit over a year, I bought a 1973 Volkswagen Beetle. And I've been fixing it up and posting videos on this channel. So if you're interested in watching those, you can click the little thing, or the description will have all of the videos so far. I've learned a lot the hard way, and I want to save you from making the same mistakes I did, because I honestly probably did this the worst way possible. And a little backstory, I've never had a classic car like this. Well, I take that back. I've had a Volkswagen Rabbit. Also, I have some videos of that on the channel, but never anything of this capacity. So number one, let me tell you what to avoid, and this will apply to any project car that you buy. Don't buy a car that is incomplete. And what do I mean by that? Well, I bought the shell, a rolling shell with no engine and basically no interior. The brakes didn't work, the electrical is shot. This had become a home for rats and spiders. It was sitting outside for probably 20, 30 years, and I decided to buy it with the intention to fix it up in 6 months and drive it to Chick-fil-A, which is still my goal, don't get me wrong. I also bought with the car for $350 included this engine and another engine that might as well had been a boat anchor because it was rusty, all seized together. I used maybe 2 parts from that engine entirely, and now it's just sitting in my barn, rusting even more. It's been a challenge to kind of try to piece everything together compared to if I would have just bought a whole car with working brakes, or at least, kind of working brakes, the electrical being together and good, and an engine that was maybe running, not running, but everything was there. Would have been a lot better than buying an incomplete car and having to try to source all the parts to make it work. And a little bit after, I was scrolling on Facebook Marketplace and I found a car for around $1,200. It was an hour away and everything was there. It was kind of more like a Baja bug. A tree had fallen on the roof of it and busted the front windshield, but the engine was running, it rolled, it stopped. Electrical was good. If I could go back, I would probably have bought that car plus the car that I have now and tried to make them work together. But I also have heard that once you start buying a bug, you don't stop, you keep buying these parts, cars, donor cars, and it becomes a mess. Which I have the room for it, but I've also realized that I'm a hoarder, and if I would have started that, I probably would have, multiple bugs. But I have a wife that keeps me in check and doesn't let me go crazy with projects. So things to keep in mind if you're in the same position as me. Expect to spend more than you think. Trust me, when I bought my Beetle, I thought, I'll just fix it up and it'll be fine. But then I realized parts are not cheap. I've spent far more on parts and tools than if I just would have bought a complete car in the first place. If you're buying a project car, be ready to spend some money on replacement parts, and not to mention labor if you're not doing the work yourself. Prepare for unexpected delays. I've had so many moments where I thought I was just a weekend away from making the task complete of whatever I was working on, and then I would run into another problem. Rusted bolts, parts that don't fit, waiting on shipping for parts that I purchased. Don't think it's gonna be a quick fix. Be prepared for it to take months and even years, and I'm in that boat, if you're gonna do it right. Also, don't forget about the personal things. Your wife is finishing her master's program, possibly. You move into your in-laws to save money. You sell your car to buy a bug, and then you put that money into savings because your family is more important than your projects. Ask me how I know. And lastly, know your limits. You're gonna get a lot of advice from forums, other Beetle owners, but not all advice is equal. Some stuff you'll be able to handle on your own, others might require a mechanic. Know your limits and don't be afraid to ask for help. I had to do this. I found a local Volkswagen mechanic that his family owned this shop since the the 60s, I think, something like that. And he's been working on these cars since he was 17. And that was all the way back in, you know, the 1960s, 1970s. And he has helped me tons with getting my engine to where it's at right now. And he's also sold me some good quality German parts for my Bug. And they've honestly been the best prices that I could find. And I wish I would have done that before buying anything online, which brings me to the last topic, how much I've spent so far. So let's talk numbers. Oh yeah. How much has this journey cost me so far? And what kind of progress have I gotten with the amount that I've spent? Like I said, I bought the car for $350 with 2 parts engines. The actual body has needed a ton of work and also a lot of replacement engine parts. And at this point, I've spent about $2,000. The actual car, the $350 is included in that, and all the parts. And not to mention all the time and labor that I've put into it. And I'm not even done yet. So if you're planning on doing this, you're gonna need a decent sized budget to get a Bug like mine back on the road again. I've heard a saying, the most expensive car you can buy is a cheap Volkswagen. But on the bright side, I've made some real progress and I'm getting closer to finishing my goal. It's been a learning experience for me for sure. It's a lot of work. If you've got the patience and the money, it can be worth it. So to wrap it all up, if you're looking to buy a vintage Volkswagen, make sure to do your homework. And congratulations, I guess if you're watching this video, you're probably thinking about buying a vintage Volkswagen. And understand that you're probably getting yourself into a pretty hefty project. But for me, it's been worth it. I'm glad I've done it. I'm glad I've met some cool people along the way, and that it's taken me a year to get this far. If you've already purchased a car and you've made some mistakes, don't worry, you can still get through it. But it's gonna take some time and some money, and I'm speaking to myself on that one. Hopefully my mistakes can help you from making your own. But let me know in the comments what your thoughts are, and feel free to ask me any questions about my Beetle and my engine and whatever else you may have questions about. And always, if you like these types of videos, subscribe for more.